Look up. Go ahead. See that beautiful, familiar moon? For years, I've looked at it too. Comforting, wasn't it? A silent guardian. Until I really saw what it is. It's not rock. It's not silent. And it's definitely not just reflecting sunlight. That thing in our sky is alive. It's been watching us. And I think it's starting to wake up. You need to know before it's too late for all of us. I've always found a strange comfort in the night sky. Growing up in the city, you don't see much of it. But I moved to the country a few years ago. Less light pollution, more perspective. I wasn't a dedicated astronomer, no fancy telescope, just a good pair of binoculars and a comfy chair on my porch. Most nights after the world had quieted down, I'd sit outside, just me and the stars. And the moon, of course, our silent, constant companion. I knew its phases like the back of my hand, the way its light painted the silver fields, the predictable arc it traced across the black velvet. There was a rhythm to it, a celestial mechanism that felt eternal, grounding. In a chaotic world, the moon was constant, or so I believed, until that night last fall. It was a Tuesday, I think. Clear skies, a perfect full moon hanging there, impossibly bright. I was just watching her, as I always did, feeling that familiar sense of peace. And then I blinked. And for a split second, something was wrong. It's hard to explain. It wasn't a cloud. It was like the texture. For just an instant, the smooth, bumpy surface seemed to glow, almost like heat haze on asphalt, but on the moon. And it felt damp, just for the blink of an eye. I rubbed my eyes. I thought I was tired, staring too long. You know how your eyes play tricks on you. I looked again. Normal. Perfectly, reassuringly normal. I chalked it up to fatigue, to a long day. But the image, that brief, impossible glow, stayed in the back of my mind. A tiny sliver of error in a perfect night. I told myself it was nothing, just my eyes. But it was the first crack, the first time I looked at our silent guardian and felt a flicker of doubt, a small, cold question mark hovering there beside her in the darkness. That glimmer of doubt didn't go away, it festered. The next clear night, I was outside again, binoculars pressed to my eyes. I told myself I was being ridiculous, chasing shadows, but I had to look. And this time, it wasn't just a glow. The moon seemed bigger, just a fraction, but enough to make the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Its light seemed different too, sharper, cooler, not the soft glow I remembered. It cast shadows that seemed too long, too dark, and the crickets went silent that night. Totally silent when the moon was at its zenith. I started keeping a journal, dates, times, observations. Moon appears 2% larger than charts indicate. Strange greenish tint at edges for 17 minutes. Heard a low hum, almost felt in my teeth when I looked directly at it. My notes began to sound like the ravings of a madman. I bought a better camera, a small telescope. I needed proof, for myself more than anyone else. The photos, they were strange. Sometimes they showed anomalies that my naked eye couldn't see. A faint, barely perceptible geometric pattern in the lunar Maria, like veins under the skin. Other times, a photo taken seconds apart would show the moon in a slightly different position, or a crater would look deeper. Then, in the next photo, everything would be back to normal. I tried to talk about it, casually at first, to my colleague Sarah at work. "Hey, has the moon been looking kind of weird to you lately?" She just laughed, said I needed more sleep. I showed her one of the photos, one where a shadow looked almost like a vast claw mark. She called it a cool trick of the light and changed the subject. My brother, when I called him, suggested I take up a less stressful hobby. No one else saw it. No news reports of strange lunar activity. Just me, alone with my observations. and the growing, sickening feeling that either I was going mad or the whole world was blind. The worst were the dreams. When I did manage to sleep, the moon filled them. Not the silver disk, but something different. A vast, watching eye. An organic, pulsing orb. I would wake up sweating, the ringing still echoing in my ears. The moon was no longer just up there. It was becoming personal. It seemed to know I was watching. And sometimes, when I looked through the telescope, I had the distinct, chilling impression that it was looking back. Looking back was no longer just an impression, it was a certainty. The moon, I couldn't call it that in my head anymore, not really. Knew. It knew. It knew I was its devoted audience, and it began to perform. Or perhaps communicate. The patterns on the surface I'd glimpsed, they became more frequent, more complex. Not random. They looked like circuitry, like alien writing, or like the shifting skin of some colossal sleeping beast. I improvised an old shortwave radio, pointed a makeshift antenna at it. Just a dumb guess. Most nights, just static. But sometimes, between the crackles, I heard it. Not words, not music, but pulses, rhythmic, ordered, like a heartbeat or a code. I recorded hours of it. I tried to find a pattern. Nothing made sense. It was just a rhythm of the void, a whisper from above that seemed impossibly ancient. Then came the direct messages, not over the radio, through me. I'd be staring through the telescope, lost in those swirling patterns, and a thought would just arrive, fully formed, not mine. We see you, little spark. You are curious. The pattern has a purpose. They weren't voices, not exactly. More like pure understanding blossoming in my mind. Cold, analytical, totally alien. That I thought I was unique, chosen, or cursed. But the internet, it's a vast, dark ocean. And in its deepest recesses, I found them. A tiny, encrypted forum. Lunar Anomaly Observers, LAR. They weren't cranks. They were scientists, ex-military, engineers, people who had seen something too. People who had heard it too. They had rules. Not rules for the moon, but rules for us, for survival. Things learned the hard way.
Rule how 1. Never observe for more than 17 consecutive minutes. Your gaze refocuses. Rule 2. If you receive a direct thought message, do not attempt to respond with your own thoughts. She will take this as an invitation to integrate. Rule 3. Certain lunar phases are active windows. New moon is quiet. Full moon is volatile. Avoid direct observation during the exact peak of fullness if its surface appears to breathe. Rule 4. If the pulses form a repeating sequence of 7 beats, break eye contact for at least an hour. This is a pre-echo of a larger transmission. Rule 5. Never point a laser at her. She really doesn't like that. Integrate? Breathe? Pre-echo? This wasn't just a celestial body. It was an entity. The members of Laro, some had disappeared. Some had gone mad. Some posted frantic, confused warnings before their accounts went silent. They weren't just observing an anomaly. They were standing on a precipice, staring at something that was slowly, patiently staring back. And with these rules, these fragments of desperate knowledge, I realized I was no longer just an observer. I was a participant in a silent, terrifying conversation with the cosmos, and I was beginning to understand its language. Understanding your language? What a fool I was. You don't understand a hurricane. You don't understand a plague. You just witness its devastation. The Laro forums were full of warnings about the unveiling, Or the blooming, an event, they said, that happens without warning when it decides to show a little more of its true nature. They said it changes you forever. I never believed it would happen to me until last night. It was a clear night, perfect visibility. The moon was just past its first quarter. I was following Rule 1, keeping my observation under 17 minutes. Then, the surface began to move. Not the shadows of the craters, the real surface. It rippled like black oil on water. The light it emitted turned a sickly, bruised purple. The hum I had grown accustomed to intensified, vibrating through my bones, making my teeth ache. And then, a section of it peeled away, like a scab being peeled away from a wound. But there was no rock beneath. There was something else. I can't describe it. Geometry that made my head spin. Colors I'd never seen. A sense of scale that crushed me. It was like looking into the exposed heart of a god or a demon. For a second, I saw an eye the size of a continent, ancient and cold, staring straight through the telescope, through me, into the core of my being. And it saw me. I screamed. I think I screamed. I threw myself away from the telescope, my vision blurring. The room was spinning. That image was burned into my retinas. The eye, the impossible structures. It wasn't a celestial body. It wasn't a dead rock. It was a thing, a colossal, living, thinking thing, wearing our moon as a disguise, a mask. Why? Why hide? Or had it never been hiding? Were we the ones who were too blind to see? The Laurel Forums called it the Great Old One, the lunar parasite, the watcher on the threshold. They had so many names for their fear, but none of them captured the sheer, overwhelming abnormality of it. This was no distant cosmic horror. It was our closest celestial neighbor, our constant companion, the inspiration to lovers and poets. And it was a lie, a monstrous, ancient lie. And now I knew that I knew. The veil had been torn. The true moon had shown its face. And I knew with a certainty that chilled me more than any cold, that nothing would ever be the same again.
The days after the unveiling are a blur. Sleep has become a landscape of impossible geometries and that single vast eye. Awake, the world feels thin, fragile, like a stage set about to collapse. The Laurel Forums have gone into a frenzy. Others have seen it too, fragments in different time zones. The bloom is happening. The acceleration, some called it. The entity was stirring. It wasn't just my secret anymore. The news has begun reporting oddities, unusual seismic activity unrelated to fault lines, mass bird migrations at the wrong time of year, people everywhere reporting vivid, shared nightmares of a great eye in the sky. The authorities called it social media-fueled mass hysteria. But I knew, we on the forums knew, it was the moon. Its influence was leaking. The warnings online grew more desperate. If its light made your skin tingle, look for lead. Avoid glare during its peak, for your eyes might not be yours. Burn any drawings you made of it, for it could see through them. Its light, it changed things. I saw it in my small garden. Plants grew toward it, not the sun. Their leaves turning a ghostly white, pulsing at night with that same purple light I had seen. And me? I felt connected. That terrible, intimate connection from the telescope hadn't gone away. It was stronger. I could almost hear its thoughts. Or not thoughts, more like raw intent, hunger, curiosity, and something vast and ancient and utterly indifferent to us. Laurel members spoke of the final phase. when the disguise would fall completely, when it would fully awaken, or erupt, or arrive. They didn't know what it wanted: to consume us, to transform us, or just be, and in its being, obliterate us without thought, like a man stepping on an anthill. I look at it now, every night. It no longer hides its strangeness from me. Sometimes its surface twitches. Sometimes that great eye opens and fixes on my city, on my home, on me. And I know the acceleration is almost complete. The final transmission is about to begin, and we are all just tuned in. It's beautiful, isn't it? The final transmission. No more disguises, no more whispers. Just truth, pure, absolute. The acceleration is complete. The eye is open, and we are all part of its gaze now. Look up. See for yourselves. You always have.
You always have. The eye is open. The transmission is everything. What now? Can you unsee what really hangs over us every night? Cosmic truth can be a terrible burden, a revelation that shatters sanity. At Urban Echoes, we offer no comfort, only more echoes, more glimpses of what lies beyond our fragile little bubble of reality. Want to explore other truths that shouldn't be known? Discover other entities watching us from distant stars, or from the depths of our own corrupted technology. Decipher these other signals. They are fragments of a larger, older, and infinitely more terrifying picture of the universe. If you have the courage to keep staring into the abyss, to try to understand the echoes coming from the void and the legends our city tries to hide, sign up. Join the Urban Echoes Observers. Maybe together we can make some sense, or just witness the inevitable unfolding of the night. Good night, and try not to stare at the moon for too long. It might be staring back.